Okay. Well, good morning again, docents. As you can see, we've changed our costumes for you as we get into into
The
a
more
different
modern era.
Well, we're going to zoom back to the 17th century. I'm going to pretty much let With handle this because he actually personally knew a number of these outstanding women. But just to say, I was just totally overwhelmed by the achievements and the dedication of these women in the Hampton area and their academic qualifications and all the rest. I just wanted to say one thing. You can go over and refer to the timeline, but you'll notice in the timeline in the late 19th century that women in Virginia were becoming very active in preservation, in preserving artifacts, documents, and that is precedent for this. This would not be unusual. They were doing it most of the time. They were not professionally trained women. They were doing it on a volunteer basis, but they were accomplishing something very important in the preservation and interpretation of Virginia history. And of course, the Mount Vernon Preservation Society, that's not the exact title, was started actually in the antebellum period. And that is along with the Association for the Preservation of Virginia Antiquities.
It's a different name, yeah.
Yeah, which was formed in the late 19th century, have really been benchmark organizations nationally for preservation. And that's all I have to say. I'm going to hand it over to With, who has some great stories for you.
Thanks. This is a portion of the exhibit which I love. It's both history and the women in Hampton who have made major contributions, or at least some of them. When I was a child growing up in the 1950s, my mom was very interested. She's not on the wall here, but she's very interested in saving Bacon's Castle and the oldest home in Hampton down on the waterfront. Unsuccessful, well, fairly successful, but here we have other women in Hampton's history who have been really interested in preserving Hampton's history. The lady here is Sis Evans, one step ahead of the bulldozer. She opposed redevelopment in Hampton because it was going to destroy a lot of the downtown. She painted watercolors of the downtown to show what it looked like, because it's going to be torn down. It was torn down, and she was out saving artifacts in front of the bulldozer in the 1960s, 1970s, when Hampton was redeveloped. One of the things she saved, this beautiful lion's head rain spout ornament, which was on the Kickitan building, which is on was on King Street, and she saved this for the museum. Another modern-day woman very important in Hampton's history is Carolyn Haldeman Hawkins, who has an encyclopedic knowledge of Hampton's history, lots of artifacts, articles all cross-indexed, and loans them to us, or at least loans us her knowledge whenever she can. Here we have the most nationally known Hampton women. This is Conover Hunt, a major museum figure in modern America, the person who established the JFK Museum on the 6th floor where the sniper killed the president. She put together and ran that museum for 12 years. She was curator of the only bicentennial exhibit that dealt with women's history, Remember the Women. And she has 8 published books. Another published author is Helen Roundtree, who also has 8 published books, is the nationally known expert on what we call the Powhatan Indians, on the Indians of Virginia in the 17th century. Mary Christian, principal of Langley Elementary School, and very important in Hampton's history for helping to save, along with others, Carolyn Haldeman Hawkins was another, Little England Chapel, one of the oldest churches in Hampton. here, and I'm afraid you won't be in the screen, is Eleanor